Coach Bill Tierney joins us now. And, Coach, I think at times we were not sure if we were going to get to this point, but you guys are in a game week here in 2021. What's the excitement level just knowing after everything we've been through, you guys are hopefully going to play a game this weekend?
We're gonna keep hoping, and with our experience of watching basketball and football, you never know until the ref blows the whistle. So I can tell you that our university, our athletic department have done an amazing job with this whole COVID and protocols, and we still have yet to practice together as a full team. But like you said, the excitement level. From a personal standpoint, when you start to think maybe you've done this for enough time and maybe it's time to pass this thing on, and all of a sudden you get 11 months off from it, you start to realize how blessed you are and how lucky you are to be having another game day this weekend.
I mean, you mentioned some of the different protocols that are in place. I know everybody's different, and I know you guys have been kind of practicing in groups. Will you guys get all together in one big group before the game, or is that only game days? Walk me through the protocols.
No, in fact, even on game days, we have to find a way to, work one group in and another group out. We are at a point now where it's pretty comfortable. We have two groups. We could go up to 50, but that would mean that then there's only 15 kids in the second group. So we don't want to do that. So we've kept both groups at about 30, 32, give or take some with some injuries we've had. Trying positionally. We have a lot of short sticks, so we've been moving them back and forth. We've got to go by guidelines, medical guidelines, but as I said, our university's done an amazing job where kids are testing once, twice, 3 times a week. It's been amazing. And you still walk on thin ice. You're still nervous every day. They're still 18 to 22 years old, 23 years old now. And, we're just so thrilled that our guys have taken this seriously after a couple of bumps in the road in the fall. And hopefully, knock on wood, we're ready to go.
I think usually we talk to you about all of your experience, and it almost seems like there's probably nothing you haven't seen in the sport, and then this hits, and I don't think any of us could have ever imagined that we would be dealing with everything that we're dealing with. Is there something you fall back on in how you've tried to help bring the team along throughout this whole experience? Because it was a unique fall, it's a unique preseason, and obviously it's going to be a kind of crazy year.
The closest thing that I can think of or I can remember was when I was a freshman in college and there was protests about the Vietnam War. And at some point, about a month maybe before the season ended, the schools started allowing kids to make options about taking their grades as they were and then leaving campus. So you had a little bit of discord. You had a little bit of, all of a sudden the team got smaller. Our team at Cortland didn't get a lot smaller, but some teams did. But that was the closest thing, injuries. We've had some major injuries over the years. Everybody has, and so those are about the closest thing. The biggest thing that's affected us, we believe, and I'm sure other coaches would say the same, is that when you're in cohorts, one of the most important things is that your freshmen learn your culture, find out how to act, find out what it's all about to be a Denver lacrosse player. And we literally have some freshmen who have never met some of our seniors in person. A lot of Zoom calls, they know who each other are, and we have mentors, senior to freshman mentors, but it's just not been the same. So calling on experience in this point is not something we can all do. The only experience we have is what's gone on in other sports, basketball, football, and at our school, what's going on at hockey. It's different. Well, we have to work out game day protocols of who's going to warm up when, who's going to be on the sideline, who's going to be in the stands. We're not going to have parents and friends and crowd there. So, we're experiencing a lot, and each week we'll learn something new. But it all goes back to 2 extremes. Number one is we've got to remember, So many hundreds of thousands of people have died in our country. So let's not take ourselves to be that serious. And on the other hand, it's lacrosse. It's our game day, and this is what we do. This is what our players do. This is what our coaches do, and we couldn't be more excited to get it going.
Well, when we do hopefully see you on the field this weekend, you have the unique situation of welcoming in a couple of big transfers, including Jackson Morrill. And obviously, he's in a unique situation because he comes from a great program at Yale. We obviously know what he has, but he's trying to acclimate to a new team that, like you said, he hasn't really gotten a chance to really get a feel for. What do you expect to see from him, especially early on here in the year?
Well, the reason that Jackson is great is because he has lacrosse IQ that's beyond most, and he knows what to do. He's been in two extremely different programs, but yet two similar programs. And so he doesn't mind discipline. He doesn't mind adjusting. He doesn't mind coaches and other players suggesting to him, and he doesn't mind suggesting to them. So Jackson and Lucas Kotler have fit in so seamlessly. They live with Danny Logan and Colin Squires and Ethan Walker and Kyle Smith. If we asked for two guys from our team to move in with those four, it would have been easy. And so we're really proud of those young men. We're thankful to have them. And it's been a unique situation in way we've gotten them. We have two guys from Loyola and Cole Boland and Logan Devereaux, and it's been the same. But Jackson Morrow and Lucas Kotler are impact players to our team, who was returning everybody that ever stepped on the field for us last year. So we're excited about them.
Well, and I feel like it fits pretty well to what you guys do return, especially a player like Ethan Walker. You add Jackson Morrill in to be able to set him up. It probably only makes him better. How does that fit in the offense?
Yeah, 2 years ago when Ethan lost, that great attack we had with Connor Cannizzaro, Ethan kind of felt like he was alone a little bit. He had to break in some new people. Ellis Geist got hurt in the middle where he was developing a good relationship with. So last year he came back with JJ and some of these other guys and got comfortable with being Ethan again. And now Lucas has brought that to another level. It's just like playing with Connor Cannizzaro. They've developed a trust. They've developed a camaraderie. They developed they look for each other a little bit. And so no matter who else is in with them, you're gonna see the old Ethan back again. And I know he's thrilled to have somebody like Jackson play with him, and I know Jackson's thrilled to have another receiver at the end of what he likes to do.
You mentioned the roster size, and it's something I think a lot of schools are dealing with this year with the extra fifth year of eligibility. How do you manage a roster that is as large as you have and trying to deal with getting the best guys on the field for game day, which may be different from the beginning to the end of the year?
The first thing we decided to do, Matt Brown and I sat down about this, we decided to do is to be transparently honest with everybody. We've been very clear with our freshmen, very clear with our sophomores, some of them, that this would have been their turn. We would have graduated 15 seniors last year. Instead, we graduated 3 or 4. We wouldn't have had those fifth year guys, and so, if you're not transparent and you're not honest with these kids, then they start asking questions to each other. It's still hard. We're going to have to do this next week, make sure the parents are clear and the kids are clear with who's going on a trip to North Carolina. We got to be clear this week who's going to be where during the game. And this isn't easy on these young men. I asked one of our freshmen the other day how he was doing, and he said, "Coach, we're abiding by everything you've asked us to do, everything the school's asked us to do, but it's boring. This is not your typical freshman year in college, what you've been dreaming about since you're in 7th or 8th grade of playing Division I lacrosse." But I couldn't be more proud of them and the other guys. Some of the guys were moving from top cohort to bottom cohort or from position to position to help us in practice. I couldn't be more proud of these young men and especially my staff. These guys just knock it out and are every day here for us. Our administration, our athletic director, Carlton Creech, my sports supervisor, Brandon McNeil, they have been so supportive of us and yet have been, right on when it comes to how to keep this team as healthy as we possibly can. And that's the most important thing.
So schedule-wise, you hit on it. You start with Utah, hopefully this weekend, and then the plan is to go to North Carolina for 2 games in 3 days against 2 other top 10 opponents. What was your strategy in trying to figure this out? Was it, we want to test this team as much as possible and get as many games in as we can? Like, how did you go about putting together that schedule, knowing what you have in the Big East, which is obviously unique this year too?
Well, it's a great question, and we didn't know what we were going to have in the Big East, so we had to kind of plan ahead. When Brian Holman and I are great friends. We go way back. He coached with me at Johns Hopkins in 1985, my first year there, so we've known each other forever. And Coach Danowski and I, and Coach Bresci, all the coaches, we've all kind of resolved the fact that this is going to continue to be a weird year, and the kids want to play games. We may want to practice for 4 straight weeks, but the kids want to play games. So with that in mind, Brian Holman and I, we had actually scheduled for next week, but there was this year, if you remember, Memorial Day moves back from the last possible day it could have been to the earliest possible day. So there was a little confusion in the scheduling. So we just said, okay, we both have January 30th free. We didn't know we had, this was last year. We weren't talking about a pandemic. We're talking about 2 coaches that made a decision. So we had that one kind of set in stone. Then it came to the next weekend where we didn't have a game. And talking to Coach Bresci, talking to Coach Danowski, because we went, and that was after we found out what our Big East thing was going to do, which brought us back to February 20th, which is our normal Duke date. Overran March 6th, which is our normal UNC date. So I went back to them and said, can we look at the February 5th weekend? And they were both in agreement. This COVID thing for athletic departments have cost a lot of money, and for schools. So in an effort to save a little money, because we would have had to travel to both of those, I went to some of our seniors and our better players and our captains, and I said, listen, here's our option. We can play Duke. We can play North Carolina. We can play neither of them. I can try to pick up another game that weekend or have a bye. Or we can play both at first, Saturday, Sunday. And it was unanimous within a second. Coach, we want to play in these great games. If we're going to be the team we hope to be at the end of the year, we got to find out what it's like to play against a stacked Duke team and a stacked Carolina team, and learn from it and get better. And that's all we're trying to do at this point. And I'm thankful for those guys to allow us to play. I'm thankful for their schools to work out the protocols with us for the COVID. And I'm thankful mostly to our school to allow us to have a non-conference schedule with those 2, with Utah, and then the following week with Air Force, which is our only kind of local out of conference game. And then we jump into conference, which is going to be a lot of fun with the home and home thing, because it's added 3 home games for us this year that we wouldn't have had. And the other part of your question about, everybody or a lot of people thought, well, let's wait on COVID. Let's push our schedule all the way back. Start games in March, because then COVID will be done. Well, we said that same thing in last March, right? We were planning on, are we going to have our June camps? That's when I look back on that now. It's ludicrous for us to even consider. And so what we decided was, COVID's going to shut us down at some point. We're going to miss a game or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 at some point. Let's get those ones in if we can. It might not be shutting us down early. It might be, but but if we get 5 or 6 in and then all of a sudden we lose 2 or 3, it's the way it's going to be. And so our conference, the Big East, with James Green, being our liaison, the ADs in the Big East have been phenomenal with accepting a schedule that the coaches worked out and the coaches proposed. And I'm thankful to be in that league.
Well, knock on wood, we see you finally on the field here this weekend. Coach, we appreciate the time as always, and good luck.
Well, thanks, Travis. As I said to another reporter yesterday, the 3 happiest people on Saturday are going to be the referees because I will have a mask on.
That's true. Thanks, Bill.